Georgia entered National Signing Day with the nation's #1 class, and when the dust settled, its hold on that top spot was even stronger. In this video, I got Dawgs HQ insider Jake Rowe to go behind the scenes of one of the most electric signing day flips in the country. Yes, I'm talking KJ Bolden. We're going to talk about what is next for Georgia. It could be the transfer portal. So Dog fans, before we get started, hit subscribe for me to the On3 Recruits channel. We're here talking recruiting 365 days out of the year, and we need you to be a part of it. Hit subscribe. All right, thanks. Now, let's bring on Jake Rowe of Dawgs HQ. And Jake, what were the odds that KJ Bolden was going to tell Kirby Smart no 2 times in the same cycle? Take us behind the scenes of how UGA was ultimately able to sign the 5-star safety.
Well, now we know that those odds were 0 because he just wasn't going to do it. I mean, listen, Georgia's former director of player personnel, a guy that we've had on a few of our shows over at Dawgs HQ, Matt Godwin, told me that the day after KJ committed to Florida State, he told me, he said, "Hey, dude, I still think Georgia's going to end up getting him." Like that bond, that thing, that it runs so deep with Kirby Smart there. Now, I would have said 3-4 weeks ago that Matt got that one wrong. But ultimately what ended up happening here is you start to hear more and more, and, we've talked about it, and I think he ended up taking a few more visits to Georgia than folks realize. Right. Being close, it's tough to do that under the radar these days. I think that had a big thing to do with it. I also think that, visiting Syracuse and talking with Fran Brown, and spending some time with him, I think Fran Brown probably gave Georgia a little bit of an assist from the outside on this one. That's after, making the move from Georgia. But ultimately, really, the main driving factor here is that Kirby Smart has known this kid for a long time. And he kind of brought Georgia back in it, and that's just kind of the way it went. The roots were deep there, and too much for Florida State and Auburn to overcome in the end.
Yeah, I think even before the season started, KJ Bolden had visited UGA over a dozen times. And like you said, he probably made it to campus sometimes that we didn't even know about during this cycle. And in the end, I mean, it was Buford High School was the place to be on Wednesday, and KJ Bolden was the center of attention. Now, the Dogs do have the #1 class, so amongst this group of elite athletes, who do you think is most ready to contribute when they arrive in Athens?
That's a tough question, Josh, because, I think the guy that may end up helping Georgia the most next year might be one of the youngest guys to sign in this class. Joseph Jonah Ajonye, I wouldn't have said this, a couple weeks ago because he just turned 17. I mean, he turned 17 like in mid-November. But he's practicing with the team right now, and we're already hearing some pretty good things about him. So that's a little bit. I think that's cheating, a little bit. Like back in the day when these guys, when you didn't have 17 or 18 guys practicing early with the team, you really had to actually give a prediction as to actually, without knowing anything. But I think he's the guy you look for. Ellis Robinson's another. I mean, #1 cornerback in the country. It's not easy to find Derek Stingley's out there, but I think Ellis Robinson might have an opportunity to do that, and Georgia's going to have a spot open with Kamari Lassiter more than likely going to the NFL. Nate Frazier's another guy that I would kind of point to, but my #1 on this list right now would be Joseph Jonah Ajonye, simply because I do believe Georgia's going to have a need for a guy to step up at that spot, and he's impressing already.
He is one big athletic body. Now, there's always highs and lows to signing day. And obviously, Dylan Raiola flipping in Nebraska is a punch to the gut. But when you have an athlete, a quarterback, like a Ryan Puglisi waiting in the wings, it kind of lessens the pain a little bit. Now, Ryan Puglisi, we know he's a great quarterback. Heck, he's already on campus there at Georgia. I just want to ask you, do you look at Ryan Puglisi and think one day he could have the ability to be a captain for this Dog team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, he kind of reminds me, right now of what Carson Beck was when Carson Beck got to Georgia. And, obviously, I don't necessarily think he's going to have to wait that long, but he's a really physically gifted guy, good size, good athleticism, strong arm, kind of a quiet demeanor, doesn't make a lot of noise, doesn't do a lot of interviews. Kind of keeps to himself, but is very, very competitive according to everyone you talk to. And, I think that listen, this has been multiple quarterbacks coaches, and they even tried to run Stetson Bennett off a couple times. So I'm not sitting here saying, man, Georgia's got it figured out. They've got a type at quarterback, but I think they're starting to figure out their type at quarterback, which is kind of that, that talented but reserved and hardworking and loyal, and there's some stick-to-itiveness there. And if there's anything Ryan Puglisi did during this process, it was showing Georgia, I'm with you. I'm with you no matter what. I'm with you when Dylan Raiola commits. I'm with you if he decommits. I'm with you when he's getting all the attention. I'm no matter what. Like he turned some offers down. He turned turned down some offers from good schools.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia's got a guy that's very talented, but more than anything, you mentioned the captain thing. I think he's made of the right stuff to get there too.
Yeah, I just think the way that Ryan Puglisi handled himself throughout the cycle, because remember, Ryan Puglisi was already on the commit list before Dylan Raiola committed in May. And the way he handled himself throughout, I mean, regardless, he's always going to have a place in the heart of Georgia fans. They're going to remember the way that he handled himself. All right, what do I want to do? I want to talk about what is next for Georgia, and I think it's going to come from the transfer portal, namely running back Trevor Etienne. What's the timetable on when he could be making a decision, and is there anybody else out there that Georgia fans should have an eye on right now?
I would be shocked if we get to the weekend without Trevor Etienne, or at least get through the weekend without Trevor Etienne announcing something, or Hayes Fawcett or somebody announcing something for Trevor to end up at Georgia. I mean, I think that has been the logical landing spot from the jump. As far as I know, he didn't take visits anywhere.
Yeah.
A lot of Georgia sources will tell you that they feel really good about where Georgia is with him. Okay. And sticking on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, you got Colby Young from Miami. Georgia's very deep into that one. Xavier McLeod from South Carolina. Another one to look at there. I mean, those are the when you throw those three with London Humphreys, those are the four main portal targets for Georgia. But I'm telling you, it's still far from done. I still see Georgia, looking for defensive linemen. I still see Georgia maybe looking for an offensive tackle if it's the right guy. Mm-hmm. They're going to continue to be active.
All right. Well, the number one haul at the high school level, and Georgia's not done. They're going to hit the portal, trying to find some compliments for this roster. Jake Rowe from Dawgs HQ, you guys have been killing it over there. Appreciate you taking some time to come on the Inside Scoop.
You got it, buddy.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.